What's up, guys? It's J&A Exotics and welcome back. Shake my hand. How you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Today we're going to be discussing whether or not reptiles are a good pet choice for kids. There's a lot of controversy around this subject, so let's jump into it. Hey, before we begin, if you guys like this type of content, make sure you smash that subscribe button. I'll also post my channel link right around here for you guys to watch more content if you'd like. Thank you. I personally owned reptiles and amphibians for as long as I can remember, and they make amazing pets. For me, it all started with Steve Irwin, watching him travel around the world and working with all these amazing animals. From that point on, I was hooked and I had to have one. I kept bugging my parents to let me get one, and finally they caved in. They looked into it, took me to a pet store, and they found the best choice reptile for me. They bought me a leopard gecko, and 18 years later, I still have her. There are most certainly pros and cons when it comes to owning an exotic pet like this for children. We're going to start off with some pros. One of the best things is that caring for the reptile and providing daily routine maintenance will teach your child responsibility. It will show your child how to care and tend to something. Even if your child is on the younger side, you can start off with smaller tasks for them. While in this case you may provide the main care for the reptile, you can have them put crickets in the tank or change the water bowl. Having your child care for an animal like this can stimulate their minds and help develop confidence. The only thing to keep in mind with having your child care for an animal like this is making sure they wash their hands properly after handling or maintain their enclosures. Reptiles have been known to transmit salmonella. With this being said, you don't even have to handle your reptile. It can live its whole life inside of its enclosure. As a matter of fact, a lot of reptiles don't even like being handled. It stresses them out. Owning a reptile also gives your child a companion and something to look forward to during the day. Most reptiles are hardy species and they're rewarding to keep. Your child can spend hours watching them inside of their enclosures. Reptiles are also a non-allergenic species, which is great if you or your child are allergic to pet dander from cats or dogs. And here's some quick pros for all you parents out there too. Reptiles are not noisy pets. You'd actually never know they're there unless you're looking at them. They also don't make a mess of the house. You won't have to worry about little Tommy's crested gecko chewing all your shoes. Reptiles also don't require daily social interaction like other pets. Sometimes owning cats and dogs is like owning another kid. And as long as you and your child keep up with the tank's maintenance, they won't smell at all. Now, we're going to talk about some cons. One of the biggest downsides of children owning reptiles actually revolve around their lifespan. Let me explain for a second. People underestimate how long these species actually live. Like I said in the beginning, I've owned my first gecko for 18 years. I've literally owned her more than 3/4 of my life. It can be really easy for most children to lose interest in owning and caring for the reptile during that time. It's always possible that in the future they're always going to be out and they're not going to want to care for the pet anymore. They could just forget about it. From my experience, most reptiles I see get brought back into my local pet shop for adoption are because kids lose interest in them. Unfortunately, the lack of interest is usually accompanied by the animal being mistreated. Stuck shed, missing toes, malnourishment, and metabolic bone disease are just a few of the common issues to name off that these animals usually come in with. Another problem is most reptiles are going to eat live insects, so if the parents have a problem with buying and keeping insects inside the house, that's going to be an issue. Another big con is the initial price of the animal, the enclosure, and the lighting requirements. It can be a hefty payout if your child isn't going to stick with caring for the reptile. And speaking of lighting requirements, a heat lamp can be a potential hazard to smaller children. If it's not secured properly, they can knock it over and burn themselves. Some species that are considered beginner pets will require a relatively large setup. One of the most popular reptiles, the bearded dragon, requires a minimum 40-gallon breeder tank as an adult. That can be problematic if you don't have the space for the enclosure. So back to the question. Are reptiles a good pet choice for kids? My opinion, it's absolutely going to be 100% yes. If the parents are on board, they do their research, they know the commitment they're getting into, and they take ownership of the animal if something goes wrong, then there's no issues. I know when we have kids, it's absolutely going to be a yes. Just make sure you do your research, because reptiles are most certainly not the pet choice for everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to subscribe to the channel, I'll post that here. And if you just want to watch more content, I'll post that right around here. Thank you.